So all week long, I've been sharing my reflections from my experience posting my first 100 reels. And in case it's not totally obvious, I am not an expert on reels or video or Instagram, but I have happily sponged up the knowledge of people who are. So I will be sure to link resources below once this is saved to IGTV. So welcome. Hi, Susan. Thanks for being here. So we're kicking off our first live Q&A of 2022, and I put up, as always, a sticker asking for your questions. And this week's question comes to us from Janet, and I actually received this question from a few of you. Let's see. So I actually received this question from a few of you, but Janet was the first one to ask it. So I'll let you hear from Janet in her own words.
Hi, my name is Janet Cutler, and I'm a certified applied animal behaviorist. My question is about finding ideas and inspiration for reels. I really want to be doing more, but I struggle with coming up with ideas. If you have any tips, I would really appreciate them.
Okay, so I love this question. It's so practical, and I can absolutely speak from my own experience. I also happen to have checked out Janet's account here already. Janet is on my close friends list. If you'd like to join, I'll put info below for how you can do that. And so I've seen some of her posts. I know a bit about the content that she shares. And so I jotted down a few notes here. So if you see me looking over this way, it's so that I can stay on target with offering something that I hope will be specifically helpful to Janet and her question, but that you, as you're watching this, either live or on the replay, can get something that you can apply to your own business too. So first of all, Janet, you have an awesome advantage when it comes to creating video content or really any kind of content on Instagram, and that is that you work with animals. I don't know if you've noticed, but animals are quite a thing on social media, and I don't think that's going anywhere. So even though you know and I know that the ones you're actually working with and helping are the humans, you have this awesome excuse to just blast all the cute animal content, all the funny animal content. So if you haven't already, I recommend just going down a few rabbit holes. Usually you can search by certain hashtags to look at specific breeds or whatever you want, and just see what people are doing with reels involving animals. And the next advantage you have is that whereas most of those are for entertainment, they're to uplift us, they're to make us laugh, you then can come in and deliver the goods in the form of your expertise and training. Like, you're not just someone who's sharing animal content, you actually have really juicy, valuable information to share. So that's one encouragement to you, is just own your credentials and know that you can jump on the trend of sharing in a really entertaining way and then back it up with really solid information. So I jotted down just a few tips for you that I want to share here, but know that I'm happy to share more. And again, I'll link some resources below so that you can really dive into how to make reels your own. There's so many different ways you can use them. And even though I've now posted 100 of them, there are lots of different opportunities and styles of reels that I haven't explored yet. So my first encouragement to you, or my first tip, is to shift from thinking about the reel itself needing to do all the heavy lifting to the reel being just the tip of the iceberg. So it can feel really overwhelming and intimidating when you're like, how the heck do I make a reel that is all these different things a reel is supposed to be? Instead, I want you to think about this. You're just trying to hook the audience's attention, and then you're serving up the goods in the caption. So the caption, and yes, I'm biased because I'm a word nerd and all of that, the caption is where the really juicy stuff is. The reel itself is just a vehicle to get them over to the caption. So really try to shift your perspective to thinking about it that way. And the good news is you're already doing captions really well. You already have so much good content that you've been sharing. Now it's kind of like the little foot in the door looks a little different. It's a video. It's a highly engaging short form video. That's all that's changed here, okay? So with that in mind, I want you to think about 2 calls to action. For every reel you create, you actually have 2 calls to action. And I will link a blog post below with lots of information about like my best tips for creating a killer call to action. This is, if you're new to this term, all it means is an invitation to take the next step towards something. It's a call to action is what prevents a post from just being like a one-sided lecture. Like, here you go, just gonna leave this right here, bye. A call to action actually engages the people that are interacting with your content in doing something. This is how you start relationship building on this platform. So back to the 2 calls to action. The first call to action is what gets your audience from viewing the reel to reading the caption, okay? And I'm sure you know, like as you've been scrolling through, some reels are inherently entertaining, like the whole story is told in the reel. There's no need to go to the caption. You just kind of keep going, right? We don't want to do this. We want to use the reel as an opportunity to hook their attention and get them down to your caption. And so I recommend going through and just noting your own behavior, like which calls to action. So the words, sometimes it's spoken, but usually it's just like the words on the reel itself. Which ones actually prompt you to go follow up in the caption? So a lot of times it's, you know, some kind of piece of information that you can't get from the reel itself. So that's your first call to action. And it just can be really simple, like, you know, I'm sharing below or find out below. You're just kind of creating this intrigue or a motivation to follow up down in the caption. The second call to action is to make sure that the energy you've created doesn't just die out when they've gotten to the bottom of the caption. So the second call to action is what sends them from the caption somewhere else. Or rather it invites them to take some sort of next step. So the second call to action is what maybe you pose a question at the bottom of your caption, or you issue a challenge or an activity to try. This can be really great if you've created a reel that shares a tip, right? You can then say, okay, your turn, give it a try, then come back and tell me how it went. Or what questions do you have about this? Or do you think you can try this? If not, let me know what's getting in the way and I'll see if I can help in the comments. Or you can send them over somewhere else, either to another piece of content. So let's say you've created a really juicy carousel post that has a lot of good information. Rather than try and reiterate all of that in an answer in the comments or in the caption of your reel itself, you can just say, for more on this, go check out my most recent post in my feed to get more info about this. Or you can send them to the link in your bio, which will take them to your website maybe, or a landing page of some kind. You just want to keep the energy going so that they're going from hook, the reel, down to the caption, and then somewhere else. Either a deeper level of engagement with you, or they're truly taking a little field trip somewhere else. That's what's going to really heighten that sense of engagement with you. Okay. My third tip is that rather than starting with the reel itself, go through your existing content and see what you can repurpose. This has been one of my biggest takeaways from my own experience. Again, as a non-reels or video, as a non-reels expert and as a quite reluctant video creator. To be able to take the pressure off yourself to just out of thin air create this brilliant reel. Instead, go back and see what you've already created. So I'm big on repurposing just in general, but for reels, this is really great. It can truly be any kind of video that you've already created. So let me give you an example. There is something, Janet, that I found on your existing profile that is ripe for repurposing for a reel. Let's take a look.
One of the best tricks for making sure that your dog is good around your kids is making sure that they get enough mental and physical stimulation. So we are playing Frisbee right now to get Marley a little bit tired so that she's good with the kids later on tonight.
So that right there could be a reel. It's brief, it's engaging. All you'd really need to add would be some captions, some text at the bottom. It doesn't even need to be word for word, just as long as the meaning is made clear. Or just, a couple of anchor points of text so that people who are watching it with the sound off, or for accessibility, need to see what the message actually is. And that can be your reel. I think from there you can say, more tips in the caption. See the caption below for a bonus tip or something like that. But that is a really juicy piece of content that would make for an excellent reel that's already right there on your profile. It's just not a reel yet. It's just a video. You also have a video I noticed of Marmalade being calm around chickens. This is another great one. This could be a reel right there where you just show the amazing footage of your pup right next to these chickens, and the pup is just minding her own business, and you can say, how is this possible? Find out below in the caption. Meet me down in the caption and I'll tell you everything. Okay? You're just trying to kind of let them in on a deeper level of what you have to share, and you already have so much that you can be harvesting from. There's one other example I wanted to point out that's not a video, but it is a static post in your feed that you've created. So right here, you have a post announcing your course. And down at the bottom, you say, questions, feel free to send me a DM. Okay, this is an awesome opportunity. Hey, Jen, welcome. This is an awesome opportunity, Janet, for you to take the same information, but create a reel that is bringing them inside your course. You could film a simple screen recording. You can talk them through. You could do a little voiceover talking them through the table of contents, for example, what they'll find inside the course. And then your call to action is something like, which lesson has you most excited? Let me know in the comments. Ready to dive in? My waiting list is open. Tap the link in my bio and you'll be the first one to know when I'm opening the doors. Okay, so it's the same content and you've already got it written out there in the caption. You're just taking that and in a reel making it more engaging. So rather than just the logo of the course, which is perfectly fine, you are giving them that extra look and it's showing them, okay, gosh, there's really a lot here. There's more on the other side of this logo and I want to be a part of it. And then by drilling down to a really juicy, you're giving them juicy content, and then by drilling down to a really clear, specific call to action, they're much more likely to do it than to send you a DM with a question. We're just making it really easy for people. That's another takeaway from my experience filming 100 reels, again, as a total newbie when I started. It's like, we want to lower the barrier to entry for people. I guess I can stop sharing this now. You want to make it super easy for people to engage with you. Something I've shared in the past about calls to action, and again, I'll link a great blog post below. I think it's great. A blog post below that has some concrete tips for you is that you want to be mindful of what you're asking people to do. And so obviously you don't want to ask anything that's going to require them to be too vulnerable publicly. But if it's a simple yes or no, if it's expressing an opinion, that's ripe for call to action. Looks like we have a question here. Hi, welcome. Do you add your reels to your grid or keep them separate? I definitely add them to my grid. It's just one more way for people to find them. And when it's saved to your grid, you can then use it in other parts more easily. So for example, a reel lives wherever the reels live on that surface of Instagram, but then it's also in my feed when it's on my grid. I can easily find it, go there and share it to my stories. I can add it to a guide. And these are all ways that in the future I can send people back there. So I've done that before. I recently pulled a few different past reels together and created a guide so that on one topic I can send people to that guide and they can view all those reels in one place around a certain theme. That would be a lot harder for me to do if I didn't have them there saved right on my feed. So again, it's just one more way for people to access them. Great question. Okay, so Janet, those are a few examples using things that are right there that you've already created. From here, here's what I recommend you do. The temptation is to start over on the Reels surface of Instagram and try to gain inspiration there. But what tends to happen is you might be inspired, but you're probably also a little overwhelmed or it's hard to find direction. Like, what do I actually do next? So what I have found super helpful is to start away from Reels. Like, forget about Reels for a second. Sit down and brainstorm all the different things you could share about. And Janet, you might have already done this for some other content purpose in your business so far. I recommend this just in general, and then to keep this document handy. It can inform future blog posts, it can inform emails that you send your list, as well as social media content. But list out all the different things you could share about. So just a few off the top of my head. Common questions you get in your work with clients. Myths that you can bust. Oh my gosh, I'm sure there are rampant myths about animal behavior and pet ownership, and how we can invite the kinds of behaviors that we're desiring in our pets. Quick tips. This is like the land of quick tips. Reels is a really great opportunity to highlight one tip at a time, or to give like a few, list them out, and then dive deeper in the actual caption. But generally speaking, simple is best. So one kind of tip at a time is really going to guarantee that people are staying with you. You could answer questions about yourself, help educate about you and your expertise. What does a certified applied animal behaviorist even do? You could do a reel where you're talking about, briefly, but here's my training, here's what I studied in school. You're essentially trying to bridge that gap between like, what are all the things that could get in the way of someone working with you, like paid clients paying you, questions about who you even are, questions about why they need you, right? You can use Reels to help make them more aware of the problem they're dealing with. Likely they're experiencing some discomfort or some frustration or distress, but they might not have vocabulary to put to that yet. You can use a Reel to do that. You can use Reels, as we talked about with the example of your course, to make them aware of the solution you provide. So there are so many different opportunities, but I really find, Janet, that for folks like us, for people that are healers and helpers, it just makes a lot more sense to start with the content you want to share, and then take some time, pour yourself a beverage, sit down and just go down a rabbit hole on the Explore page and see what kinds of audio and trends catch your eye, what makes you want to engage with a reel, and save them. And then you're just kind of matching them up. All right, how could I use this goofy sound or this trend to communicate this tip that's on my list over here? Okay, so just know this is like total freedom to experiment and play. That's what I've enjoyed most about my little foray into Reels, but I hope you found something helpful here. If you're watching live or you're joining and checking out the replay later, and you have some ideas for Janet or some kind of question that came up based on what we're talking about here, drop it below so that we can kind of crowdsource it. My greatest hope is that you would give Reels a try. Can't say it enough. I'm not an expert on any of this, but I'm someone who has been pleasantly surprised by the benefits of using Reels for me internally and externally. And I'm continually inspired by all the variety of ways I see professionals, health professionals, using Reels to market their business. So I'll drop all the resources below, including my favorite people who are actual experts on this stuff, my favorite people to learn from. And if you have any questions for me specifically, drop them below or feel free to send me a DM. But thank you again to Janet for your question. Thank you to all of you who sent in questions. I'll be back next Friday and every Friday with another live question of the week. But I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Take care.